Good day everyone, I'm Cadet Sanchez Leonecolo. Today I will discuss and enumerate of proper procedure in mooring and anchoring. Mooring and unmooring operations provide the circumstances for potential serious accidents. There is no doubt that this duty requires a good technique initially in lifting the heavy eye of the rope, followed by a good pulling technique. Care must be taken, therefore, with the laying out of heavy mooring ropes and wire ropes and hawsers. Seafarers involved in mooring operation should be given additional instruction on the specific equipment and mooring configuration used on the vessel. This should include, but may not be limited to, the types of winches and windlass and their operation, the location of emergency stop buttons, the type of ropes and or wires used, the location and use of rollers, dollies, and leads. Crew should make sure that there are enough manpower available to the task safely. Personnel should never stand in the bright of a rope or near a rope under tension, and they should treat ropes on drums and bollard with the utmost care. Detailed familiarization should be take place to all new joining seafarers regarding the new installation, use and hazards related to permanent and loose mooring equipment. Based on the risk assessment, appropriate control measures should be put in place.
Hi, I'm Paulo Munoz Silvosa, and I'm going to discuss about the setting the anchor. So, anchoring can be accomplished quickly and easily by following a few simple steps. So, first is check your chart for bottom characteristics and to determine that you are anchoring in a safe and allowable place. If there are rocks, shoals, reefs, or other boats to consider, give them all as wide a berth as possible. Remember that other boats will often have different requirements for angle road. Larger or taller boats frequently need a great deal of road. Also keep in mind a possible swing of 360 degrees about the anchor with the wind shifts or current changes. Hi, I'm Paulo. If your crew is not already wearing PFDS, have them put one on before going forward to set or retrieve an anchor or mooring. Secure the bitter end of the anchor line to a bow cleat. Make sure the line is ready to run free once tossed overboard. Next is into the wind or current, reduce speed and reverse the engine when the boat starts to make a slight sternway through the water. Lower, do not throw or the anchor. So after you left about a third of your line out, tug the anchor line to see how firmly it's set and then continue to release the rod. So even if the anchoring only is designated in anchoring areas, it is always prudent to have the appropriate signal such as an all-around white light on to notify other boats that you are anchored at night. And during the day, you must display a ball shape which is a size according to the size of your boat.
Sequence in mooring and anchoring. Mooring operation is one of the important tasks that seafarers have to perform on ship's deck. Technically, the operation may seem simple, but there are several dangers associated with it. As a seafarer, you must have heard about death traps on ships and how crew members have lost lives during mooring operation. Working on the ship's deck is not an easy task. Deck crews have to consider various safety precautions and understand working of deck machinery, and system along with cargo operation equipment. When it comes to mooring operation, additional precautions need to be taken to ensure personnel and crew members' safety. Each vessel has been designed with mooring arrangements such as that ropes and wires of recommended strength can be held it more safely around a berth, floating platform, buoy, or jetty. Fundamentally, a vessel has to be positioned alongside a jetty or a berth, between mooring buoys to a mooring buoy, to another ship or barge, and then made fast using her anchors, mooring lines, or shorelines. Some very common methods of mooring are Mediterranean mooring, Baltic mooring, running mooring, standing mooring, spider mooring buoys, single point or single buoy mooring, conventional or multi-buoy mooring, ship-to-ship mooring. While moored alongside a fixed or floating jetty or a sea berth, there are various forces action on a vessel such as wind, current, tide, wave action, swell, surging, induced due to past ships and trim of the vessel. The sprint, breast, and head lines prevent the vessel movement against the action of these forces. The directional effects of this note not to be needed in directional. It can be multi-directional or various angles to the vessel. The resultant direction of these forces often changes with changing in direction of onshore or offshore winds or tidal streams, current upriver or downstreams. Thus, a combination of breast rope, heads rope, and a spring rope is the best methods to counter these forces and keep the vessel safely alongside.
Good day, I am Cadet Vinluan. Today, we're gonna talk about safety procedures for mooring and anchoring. So let's start. The proper procedure or sequence in mooring and anchoring. Mooring and anchoring operations are one of the critical and hazardous tasks routinely carried out on ships. Mooring agreement, the requirement of mooring equipment, and local weather conditions differ from port to port. Careful pre-planning before any mooring operation is therefore essential. In the past, many fatal injuries and even deaths of crew being reported due to unsafe mooring practices on board. When mooring operation gets out of control, it may lead to a vessel to collide with other ships or severe contact damage to shore structure and resulted in a considerable claim to the ship owner. Thus, it is of great importance when conducting any mooring operation to make a comprehensive risk assessment and follow specific steps to ensure the safety of all those during the operation. So next is deployment and monitoring of moorings. First, the master should ensure that mooring operations, including the interactions with tugs, are carried out carefully, and the following items are appropriately addressed. Sustainable planning and supervision. Next, proper communication. Competency of personnel. Sufficient members in the mooring teams. And lastly, familiarity with any specific shore requirements relating to shore moorings, passing, traffic, and tidal weather conditions. These are important for us to be safe in mooring operations. To proceed, safety of crew during mooring operations. The company's risk assessment procedure shall be utilized to ensure that during all anticipated mooring agreements and equipment use, the safety of crew is ensured. As the ship moves near to the berth, All mooring equipment need to be tested for appropriate working conditions. It is very important that these things are take in mind so that the operations shall be successful, and most of all are safety of the crew. Lastly, mooring operation in port. The master should ensure that all important factors affecting safe mooring of the vessel throughout the duration of port stay are monitored and recorded. These may include weather conditions, both present and forecasted. Second is tide and current ranges. Third, traffic movement in the vicinity where applicable. And lastly, interval of mooring patrols depending above factors. So these things are very important for the master to reassure that the operation in port are successful and safety. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, sir. I am Cadet Bertuccio Stepen, and I'm going to talk all about the what is the proper procedure in mooring. Mooring operation is one of the important tasks that seafarers have to perform on ship's deck. Technically, the operation may seem simple, but there are several dangers associated with it. As a seafarer, you must have heard about death traps on ship and how crew members have lost lives during mooring operation. So make sure no one else is at mooring station other those involved in the activity. Anyone not assisting in the mooring process must be not to depart for their own. Number 2. Evaluate weather conditions before embarking on a mooring operation. Consider the weather condition, including wind and current, before beginning the mooring operation. The ship's master and responsible officer must be have a current and forecast weather data. So 3. Understand snapback zone and rope bite. The snapback zone and rope bite should be known to all persons involved in the mooring operation. More information can be found. 4. Check all mooring equipment. Inspect all mooring equipment for faults, such as mooring winch, drums, windlass, and etc. Routine maintenance is required to maintain the proper operation of mooring equipment and system. Examine the mooring winch load sensors. That's number 4. 5. Examine the tail of the mooring line. If the mooring line line has a tail of synthetic fiber rope connected in series with a vessel switch mounted wires to reduce mooring line stiffness and thus peak lines, loads, and fatigue due to vessel's motion. Ensure that the same size and material of tails are used for all lines in the same service, such as breast, spring, and headlines. Uneven weight in a mooring line would result from different tail size and material. 6. One at a time. Only one line should be tended at a time. Inaction may raise demand on the connected lines. Two lines connected together may overload and break. To avoid mishaps, obey the master's accountable ship officer's direction. 7. Make that the permitted breaking load in any mooring line does not exceed 55% of its maximum breaking load to keep the line from breaking. 8. Avoid mixed mooring is particularly risky if This is not possible owing to equipment. All lines in the same service, such as breast lines, spring lines, headlines, and stern lines, should be of the same size and material. Mixed mooring Mixed moorings consist of full-length synthetic ropes, and wires should be avoided. A wire will carry most of all the load, while the synthetic rope will carry almost none. 9. Keep checking. Even after mooring, the load on the mooring lines must be kept continuously. Depending on the ship's ballast state, the lines must be loosened or tightened. To avoid mishaps, inspect the rope's materials condition. 10. Mooring lines must be symmetrical. All mooring lines must be symmetrical with the breast line. The breast line should be perpendicular to the ship's longitudinal center line, and the spring line parallel. So, SIF anchor planning and operational guidance for cargo ships. So, in order to effectively anchor in safe, seaman-like manner, anchoring operations planning includes knowledge, instructions, and actions. Bad anchoring has consequences. Damage to the property and environment may occur if the ship collides with the other vessel. So, anchoring should be done carefully for the benefit of all. A secure anchoring operation starts with a good planning and a teamwork. After briefing the crew, the master should update the engine room. Keeping the operation safe, the arrival checklist requires timely completion of all checks, inspections, and computations to ensure a smooth plan approach. This system must be appropriate to keep the engine room informed of vessel's progress, especially when entering shallow water or high-risk location. So, in the anchorage area, master should locate an appropriate anchoring site. The ship's head should be oriented to much similar sized boats around or stem the tide or wind depending on which stronger before anchoring. That's all, sir. Thank you.